Good morning, everybody. My name is Brendon Derr. I lead a group called Onward Imagine. We are a advisory and managed solutions firm for experience design, creative, and marketing operations. And I'm here to speak with Kiera, who is with CapitalOnTap, Head of Communications. Thanks, everybody, for having us. We appreciate it. Well, why don't we dive in? So, Kiera, if you could walk us into your personal background, your role, and what's CapitalOnTap?
Sure. It's actually funny. My background is very, very similar to Jenna's. I also graduated in the mid-2000s with a degree in journalism. Also with dreams of being Carrie Bradshaw. I think that's what sent us all to journalism school back in the day. And I quickly pivoted from journalism into social media because that was a field that was really growing while traditional journalism was sadly dying. I'm glad to see it's made more of a comeback. But that's kind of where the opportunity was, and I went in that direction. Eventually, I left the corporate world to pursue my own social media consultancy. So that's where I really started falling in love with small businesses and just the tactics of scrappy figuring out how to make something with little resources.
So that was for small business primarily? Okay.
Yeah, mostly. And that's from there is kind of where I pivoted, and while I stayed within digital media and marketing, I kind of fell in love with strategy, and I was a strategist on the Marine Corps account at J. Walter Thompson, Wonderman, and that kind of is where I pivoted away from a career in social media, and eventually led me to CapitalOnTap, where I've been the head of communication April of this year.
So CapitalOnTap. You pack that a little for us? What do they do?
We offer a small business credit card. So I was really excited when the opportunity came along because of my history. We have kind of an interesting background. We launched in 2012, so we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary in London, and only offered our product to May, but launched in the US about a year ago in the middle of COVID. And we've been going strong for a little over a year, US, headquartered in Atlanta. So I really got the honor of coming in on the ground floor of this, but I global head of communications so tied to the London business.
The team that you have there, that team made up?
So my team is actually in London, which is interesting. I have a senior engagement manager, and her and I, basically tag team all of our projects. I couldn't do anything without her. And then I also have an SEO manager who, serves as our subject matter experts. So right now in the comms team is just 3 of us. But what's interesting about how we're set up is we don't have a traditional marketing practice. So we also have growth and biz op teams that are country specific, and they serve as more of the point of conversion team. So they're more focused on money in, money out. If I spend this much money on this, how much revenue do I get back in customer value? They've been around much longer than I have, and then communications was kind of a new discipline developed as the brand matured, to think more about the brand holistically and how we're our customers.
So how has that gone in terms of finding your lanes, standing up a new group like that? I'm sure has its dynamics.
It's definitely been a lot of trial and error. I'm very fortunate that the colleagues that I work with, they're very humble. It's said earlier, no one has any sort of skill. So it's really been figuring out what people are already doing, where the opportunities are, and where you can. So in the broadest terms, the lanes coming in where the comms team is above the line marketing, whereas the growth and biz ops team are kind of your traditional demand gen teams are more focused on money in. What that has turned into in terms of the different disciplines that we cover is we are charged with content strategy across the board, PR, social media, and the website as a whole, as well as SEO.
So somebody at CapitalOnTap had the vision to hire you initially. Did they hire you with a clear vision and articulation of what they wanted you to accomplish, or are you helping define what that looks like?
The short answer is no. They kind of came in and they said, this is something we've never done before. This is something we know that we need, and we want someone to build something. So I think the first question they asked me was, are you going to be scared if you walk in here and we don't tell you exactly what we want you to do? And I said, no, as historically having issues with authority, that actually sounds great to me.
So marketing to small business owners with credit cards, it sounds like a very competitive landscape if you're not one of the large, well-known players. What is that like? What's your ground to stand on? How do you differentiate from all the names that everybody knows?
Yeah, it's actually really different in the UK. In the US, our competitors are definitely the big banks. In the US, consumers are much less likely to trust their finances with a name they don't know. So that's kind of our biggest challenge. As well as in the UK, people do know our brand a lot more just because we've been around for 10 years. We do have our big bank competitors in the UK, but we also have other fintechs. So other credit card or other financial institutions are providing these kind of scrappy technologies tailored to. The way that we differentiate ourselves from a product perspective is we've created something that is specifically for small business. You know, the traditional banks have created something that are more for everyone, that are more all consuming, trying to kind of fit the different consumer bases, but small businesses are all that we do. Every product, every feature, every development is with the small business in mind, and their
specialization really helps us such. At this point, in looking ahead, has your team as a communications team been able to develop a clear goal? That's
it's interesting. We're still trying to define exactly what that looks like in, brand awareness. Like, what does that even mean? Is it website traffic? Is it, surveys? If it is it even accurate? So it's more so we're all kind of tied to the goal of driving in new customers and making the customers that we have more valuable through product adoption. And a lot of it is through partnership. So whereas the growth teams might be tasked with the PPC campaigns or the YouTube campaigns that are actually bringing customers, what our team is doing is developing the content, developing the message. So it's really that partnership tied to the same goals. Over time, we'll also kind of looking at, I don't want to call them vanity metrics, but things that are kind of gonna pay off more long. So our SEO domain authority, the content that we're producing, how many people blogs, social media engagement, et cetera, and tracking that over time, as well as the things that we're attracting revenue.
There are a lot of orchestration and coordination between you and your peers. I imagine that's something.
Yeah, for sure. And it's trial and error. We'll try something and we're like, well, that didn't really make sense, or measuring that was impossible because this data stream is can't differentiate that data streams. It's a lot of looking at what we have, getting foundations set up to measure different ways that we've never measured before because it hasn't been a distance. Spent a lot of time in Google Analytics differentiating paid traffic from organic. I'm sorry, I'm like pulling away.
I was struggling with the same thing. I think I found my.
I'm lucky I have this.
I was starting to go that way, and then.
Yeah, one example is I've spent a lot of time in our Google Analytics account, kind of resetting up some of our default channel groupings, as well as our custom reports to differentiate our paid traffic from our organic traffic. Because we've never had to do that before. We've never stopped to say, what is our organic traffic driving versus our paid traffic driving? And if we look at them separately, and we define the value of what we're doing organically in PR, social media, and blog posts, and if we pull that out, what does our paid say when looked at individually as a whole group of paid versus individual channels?
Are you having to go through a lot of sort of entrepreneurialism, educating internal stakeholders, all that means and what that?
Yeah. It's been great, and I'm very fortunate that the stakeholders, view my team as mini experts in the area, and they're very open to listening when we have new ideas or new things we want to try, whether it's tactic or something along the lines of tracking something differently, or even just defining what success looks like. And they've definitely been patient with me as I've gone all in on something. They're like, actually, no, that doesn't really. Let's try something else. Which is the fun of it. Which is the fun of it as well. Playing around and something that.
Having that executive sponsorship is the most important thing trying to do. So you had explained to me yesterday that this was quite a leap in your career. Can you kind of walk us through where you came from and how that was significantly different role and learning lessons that you had from your first few months?
Yeah. So I jumped directly from senior manager to kind of been in a few different senior. I came into. I think the biggest thing for me was, as a senior manager, you're looking at these channel projects as, how can I make them? So how can I do this campaign the best that it can be? What channels should it? What budget do I spend on each channel? And going all in on these projects, and of course that's 100% a part of what I do now. But there's also this thinking, taking a step back to think about, where do I go all in? Where do I prioritize? Where do I take a step back? I had you have this really cool idea for one channel or one campaign, and it's constantly triaging. It's, this discipline right now only makes sense for 20% of my time because I have a much bigger opportunity for impact here. And it's being able to think about that and evaluate and reevaluate, sometimes on a daily basis, and really set the agenda for my team. Whereas in the past, my superiors had done that for me, but there's no one to do that for me anymore. So being tasked with that has been a really unique challenge, which has been frustrating at times, because it's, something new and something different, but it's also something that's been really rewarding as I navigate that, and also guide, my team, the projects that they're taking on and what they're saying yes to, what they're saying no to. And, back when you're in college, you have to write a paper, and that paper could take 2 hours or it could take 8 hours, and it just has to be the best that it can be. And guiding your team and saying, okay, I know that this would be better if it's 8 hours, but 2 hours is only sense into what we're going to get back from it.
You mentioned that one of your past roles was as a strategist. Mm-hmm. Do you find that role, that experience equipped you, or that there are any other experiences in your background that prepared you for an elevated role?
Yeah, absolutely. Being a strategist at a big brand agency was an experience that I think is completely unparalleled. It's something where I'd gone directly there from running my own social media consultancy, where I'm the strategist, I'm the CEO, I'm the accountant, I'm everything, and then coming into a large team on the Marine Corps where 7 people have to touch any tweet that goes out for the brand. So having those resources and just having the opportunity to take a step back and think strategically about everything, about content as an ecosystem, about the measurements of things that are going out daily on social, how that ties into what's happening on our paid channels, and being able to take a step back and look at really marketing as an ecosystem versus a collection of channels, I think has really shaped there. After that, I went on to work at Orange Theory, where I was essentially was a senior digital manager, but I managed all of our digital channels. So that was a constant, I had a team of 5 people there, and it was you go over here and you go over here and you do this, and today we're in this channel, tomorrow we're in this channel, and that was just constantly orchestrating like a fire hose. We always had a million projects going on, and it was this one's appropriate for this channel, this one's not appropriate for any channels. I'm gonna have to break that to someone, they're gonna be mad, and that kind of conducting, I think was really helpful in terms of like the triaging that I had to do in this.
Certainly, I think an underrated skill set. If you have that opportunity to live that life as a strategist before getting into an how about any tough lessons learned? So obviously you were diving in, and this was new to everyone in the organization and yourself. Anything that you could take back, or any lessons learned that you do differently in the future?
Yeah, it's the balance coming in at a leadership level of figuring out what's important to your stakeholders, what's going to have the biggest impact for your customers, and what makes the most sense for your discipline and with your expertise. Those things ideally are all matching, but they aren't always. And I think at times I lean too heavily in one over the other. So it would kind of follow what someone else was excited about, even if I didn't think it was what would be most impactful at the time, just hoping, okay, I'm just going to drum up some goodwill and, do this thing for a while. And then you kind of fall into a pattern where you're and you're not really finding what your new that doesn't suit anyone. And also, so I think it's more, I think I would have liked to have balanced more listening with strategic planning with that.
So 2023, it will be your first full year in seat. What are you excited about, and where is your team's focus for the year?
Yeah, really excited. I think that this year was really foundational. We set up an entire content practice, which hadn't been done before. We have PR contacts. I think we got 80 hits in 6 months. We kind of have these processes down. Obviously, we're refining them. But it's building off of there. Now, 2023 is going to be all about innovating. Going to be about thinking more about content and connecting on that higher, more rated level, versus making. Also looking to better define our measurement and reporting, and kind of find those creative ways tie what we're doing above the line to that revenue, both in partnership with other teams and finding ways outside of that. For example, we've done a lot of competitive analysis for PR, which is find the value of that beyond this, or even though everyone in this room knows how important that is for a company's long-term reputation and credibility. Looking at organic traffic lifts during our big PR moments in the last. It was doing a competitive analysis of our top competitors and how many hits they're having quarter and trying to match that. So having those kind of more consistent practices, as well as partnering more with the team, are actually bringing and measuring our impact. Had drove lowered our cost. We can have more of active.
Well, thank you for sharing, and it's really impressive to hear your journey that it took to get here, and then the foundation that you've had the opportunity to lay here. Wishing you the very best in the year to come.
Thank you so
That's
much.
all we have.
Hello. You mentioned that some of your your competitors are the big banks, and it's really hard to convey credibility and trustworthiness. I also am in a services business and have competitors that are way bigger than us. So can you just share a little bit more about how you would suggest some messaging that you would recommend for conveying credibility and trustworthiness when you're in a smaller shop?
I think for us, it's really digging into how our product is tailored for small businesses specifically. So showing, like an example is our customer service is one of our differentiators. We have a 24-hour customer service. We answer the phone in 3 rings or less any time of the day or night. What's really interesting is our customer ops team sits in our Atlanta office with us. So I work with them every day. I know them on a personal level. One of them gave me his mom's moving boxes when I was moving, having them integrated into the business, and just seeing how much they care about the business every day is, that's one of our differentiators that we try to show on our communication channels. Another is our speed. We have near instant credit decisioning and virtual cards. So if you're a small business owner and you Google CapitalOnTap right now, decide that you want to apply for the card, apply and get approved, you can download your virtual card and start making. So I would say it's really the differentiators of your product and what that's going to do to make life easier for the people you're trying to reach, and just going all in on that, because you can't go off of the everyone's heard of us, we're the biggest. That's never going to work, and we're never going to be. It's finding your niche and saying, we're here just for you.
Others with Rockefeller Group. Liz, I know you have a question in the back.
Yes, hi. Well, first of all, Kiera, sorry about the spinning chair. That we will change that up for our next presenter. It's just a way to get you to, like, it pans the audience. But thank you. Great overview. I just had a question. How do you manage speed to market, relevancy with all the regulatory issues you also have to deal with? Can you just talk about how you can be real time managing kind of that long lead of getting legal approval and everything else?
Yes, absolutely. And that is definitely a challenge. We have a full compliance team. We work really closely together. Basically, the first thing I was told on my first day was get in Chelsea's good graces. Luckily, we found that we are both lovers of wine. So whenever I need something from her, I kind of walk over with the bottle and I'm like, Chelsea. But having her as a partner and having that team set up, having someone like her, just like a bulldog, she bulldozes, she gets it done, has been really instrumental to, me being able to work with her and her having a relationship with, WebBank, who is our card issuer. Also, one of the first things I did was create kind of a document of what does and doesn't need legal approval. A lot of our content isn't about our products. Everyone here knows if you go on social media and you talk about your product nonstop, no one's gonna follow you. So it was kind of creating that space for, if I want to give people 5 tips for, preparing their business for a recession, and I don't mention our credit card at all, do I need that to go through you? No, I don't. Okay, and then it, building just that foundation and creating that trust between our team and her team, the content practice as a whole, and the card issue. It's also being prepared. So being like, I know this is going to be in 3 weeks. I know that it's going to take 2 weeks to get approved. They better do it now. So some of that project management.
The preparedness and wine.
Yes.
2 key factors. So good luck in your year of innovation next year. Sounds like an exciting road ahead.